Those of you who I have not met, Mike Ortman, and my son Daniel was diagnosed with JRA when he was 11. That was 11 years ago. And we have been going to the JA conference all over the country for many years. And we have been to, my wife took Dan to his first one many years ago in Minneapolis. We've been to San Diego, we've been to Houston, Atlanta. And this year it was our turn. And it was a real honor and a privilege for our region to host the JA conferences. As has been mentioned often tonight, there were over 1,000 people here, young kids and their families, bonding, as you just saw so movingly by our teenagers, not just the kids with arthritis, but their siblings, many of whom are a little jealous because their sibling who has arthritis gets all the attention, gets the doctor's appointments, gets all that stuff from mom and dad, so even they got to bond together. And for parents to connect with each other, many of whom are, probably half the people who attend the conference year after year are first-time parents whose child was diagnosed in the past year. And it's a real time for fellowship for them, for their children who have arthritis, and for their other children. Many times these kids come together and have never met another child with arthritis. In fact, back home they keep it a secret. They don't tell anybody. And they come home from the conference with a whole new page turn in life. And it's a real great life-changing experience for them. So I get jazzed out of going year after year, and hosting it this year was a real honor and privilege. I've got to tell you that it was Cecil Wallace approached me on the last day and he said, straight up, honestly, objectively, how do we do? And I said, without a doubt, by far, over the top, the best one I have ever been to. And it was the best one for two reasons. One, we have an amazing staff, Barb, that dedicated itself for several months leading up to the conference to make sure it was the best it could be. And to all of them, we all say thank you, thank you, thank you very much for doing a great job. Thank you to the staff. And the second reason was a dedicated group of volunteer parents that have been through this many times. And I can't take any credit for that because I declined the opportunity to serve on the committee because I was starting a new job. But we have volunteer rheumatologists and volunteer parents who took great leadership roles, who've been to these conferences year after year, and have learned from some of the things that in other cities that we could have done better, and brought them to a whole new level in Washington. I've been many times in the traditional kickoff event is the moms and dads private session where the kids go off in an age-appropriate way. You know, the 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds are together and the teenagers together and so forth. But the dads get together and the moms get together. And suddenly dads find themselves in the room. I've never been in the mom's room, I must admit. But I'm sure it's kind of similar.
Now we drink.
I'm sure. I'll tell you, your room this year was a lot louder than ours, but that's it. But I sat there again this year and I watched Dr. Harry Gawanter and Steve Smith lead the dads in about an hour and a half where 65 or 70 dads each got up and gave their 1-minute story. That's it. More than half of them, it's their first time ever meeting another dad who had a child with arthritis. But they would get up and they would say, my daughter was diagnosed with this specific strain of arthritis, and she's on these medications, and my wife takes her to the doctor, and it's hard on my younger son, and so forth. But this year we had a couple of dads who had the courage to get up and say, I really don't know the name of the arthritis that my daughter has, or I don't know the medication that she's on, and I'm a little embarrassed by it because I'm in this room full of other dads who seem to know a lot more about arthritis than I do. It took a lot of courage on their part to say that. The next morning, one mom went up to Steve Smith and said, I don't know what you said last night or what you did, but you changed my husband forever. And he is dedicated and committed and wants to learn. And she gave him a big hug and said, thank you so much. That kind of moment, you just can't put a price tag on. And Steve has done an amazing job doing that kind of thing year after year. And he and his wife, Liz, did amazing things to make this conference terrific and help these families find a whole new chapter in their life. And Liz and Steve can't get here yet, but he'll be here later. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your leadership. Liz, if you come up on behalf of yourself and Steve, Colony, and the Arthritis Foundation, I have a very special thank you for your leadership.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
The artwork is the winning competition over here on the right from a young lady from Michigan, I believe, who won a competition of kids with arthritis who wanted to illustrate what it was going to be like to come to the nation's capital to celebrate their JRA or their JA. The other volunteer leader that has done remarkable things to help raise the bar and make families more comfortable is Dr. Harry Gawanter. And as I think a couple of his patients are here in the room tonight, and just to see, when you walked in the room, Harry, their faces just lit up. Oh, it's Dr. Harry, it's Dr. Gawanter. I met Harry back in November down in Miami at a leadership conference for the Arthritis Foundation, and we're talking about my son's situation, which was difficult at the time. And he's in Richmond, and we're in Baltimore. And I said, gosh, Harry, I really wish I could get Danny down to Richmond to see you, but if you're ever up in Washington, he said, a lot of doctors will say, well, just call and make an appointment. No, Harry said, I'll come to Washington, and seeing your son, I'd be honored. Wow, that's a special kind of doctor. And he had that same kind of attitude, not just because I'm on the board with him, but with every family he encountered at the JA conference. And that's just the kind of doctor all of us want to have for our kids. And for that, Dr. Harry Gawanter, we want to say a very big thank you. Please come up.